I mean, before I just didn't really have a game plan for anything, and now I know the steps I gotta take and everything,
Yeah.
I've, you know, growing up going through like Dave Ramsey stuff with my parents,
Yep.
um, so like now it's like it's a different mindset, Still some principles that I carry from that, but it's like it's a modern approach to it and more detailed, because they're like he always talks about like investing in the SP 500, but like what all does that entail? It's a very broad statement,
Right, right. It's he it's funny. He almost hired me and I have a lot of respect for what they do, but like you said, it's like a very simplified approach and there's just so much more to it. So when you came into the academy, was it like an eye opener or like kind of how were you feeling with all of the stuff coming at you?
I mean like the as far as like the budgeting and like the breakdown of things, it's like it gave me, I mean, I had like a general idea of things, but gave me a detailed approach and more confident in what I needed to do.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And when you came in or like before, where were you at from a financial perspective? Like how did you feel about your finances before you came in?
Overwhelmed, like really overwhelmed. I mean, I'm still like, not perfect, but I've definitely more comfortable,
Yeah,
I don't
it
got
takes
rid of.
time. Where are you at now, man? Like what are your goals that you're trying to accomplish right now? Where you feel like mentally that you're at based on when you first came in 6 months later, let's call it.
Um, I mean, before I was like trying to rush into things or whatever. I guess like, trying to buying a house, but like the longer I was in it, I was like, well, this is, not a, it's you know there's a lot of that's a whole different conversation, I go on that, but I mean like just like I'm just trying to have like a good financial structure, and that will come later, but having emergency fund and setting up investments for my children now, so I just had my
Yep.
second kid, so have my son and my daughter, setting them up for what I didn't get to have,
Yeah.
I grew up, having everything I needed, but not the knowledge and stuff.
Yep.
Um,
So you grew up in a household that, hey, you had food on your table, you went to school, but you weren't able to learn a bunch about personal finance, and your parents probably didn't invest money for you. I would take it, right?
right. I mean, my dad was a CPA, but years down the road now, they're still working and they're in their 60s, and
It's
they
crazy,
didn't
man.
the
CPAs aren't as
retire.
good at finance as you think sometimes.
Right. Yeah, I'm not trying to like, dog, you know, uh, take a shot at my dad or nothing like that. Just,
For
it
sure.
just, I mean, it's just, I guess like the financial literacy and like the planning, because, times on, I mean, I'm 29 years old, so it's like
Yep.
times on our side. So trying to make that a realistic expectation,
Yeah, and early retirement's 100% in your future, especially when you start at 29, man. Like it's without question set up. So for somebody that's like nervous, walk me through like your pre-academy experience. Like, you might have followed my Instagram page, you might have been like knowing who I was somewhat, but where were you mentally before you came in? Like just be honest and raw with this. Like, did you trust the process? Were you kind of nervous? Was there anxiety? Was there like trust issues? What was that process like?
Yeah, I mean, because I had looked at some stuff with dealing with some people before, but they're like scams or whatever, I guess.
Yeah,
I've ran into people before that were just full of crap, but like
for sure.
I'd been following you and like the substance of the material of what you were sharing and everything, and having the interview process for vetting me in, I think it was like an hour long
Yep.
or 30 minutes or an hour long. I like had nothing else to lose, for like,
Yeah,
trying to change my financial situation and get the education, because I just trying to get my education and not looking for an easy fix or whatever, like a get rich easy or fast or whatever,
for sure. Like a fundamental approach to solving for your finances. What would you tell somebody else that's like in that position? Maybe there's doubt, maybe there's fear, maybe there's like trust issues, or they're like, hey, this is just like online thing. What would you tell that individual?
In order to change where you're at, you gotta take action, and then um you gotta get the proper education so you have a good, firm foundation, so over time it's not you're not gonna see it, I'm sure if you have some, paying off debt, so you're gonna see stuff happening, but I mean as far as like becoming, wealthy and having the mental stability, it's gonna come over time.
For
And
sure.
having that foundation and the tools to set you up for success and everything, it's very important so that you can be able to have long-term success, you know?
Yeah, man. The compound interest, like I try to explain this to a lot of people, is like the difference of starting now and having the full complete set of tools underneath you so that the compound interest helps you and goes in the right direction because of the time that you have is so different than just waiting like a couple years or waiting even like 1 year or 2 years or 5 years. Like it drastically changes the outcome long term. And I always try to get people early enough to where like somebody like you, 29 years old, plenty early, and they've committed to this process. And now there's a compounding effect happening already as we speak. And so it's really encouraging to see that, man. I'm really excited for you.